6MonIsberto.
Thanks, Bam. Good evening, everyone. And to Bam and to Mark, we'd like to express our gratitude for giving us a chance to be part of this evening. When we were asked to support this particular endeavor, we answered right away yes, because actually we've been looking for quite some time for a forum like this. Actually, this is the first night and I feel very much at home already in this audience. Like Gan, who spoke earlier, my number is not 0917. And in so many of these talks that have been made so far tonight, there were so many words that were spoken about disasters, typhoons, and calamities. Actually, what I'm going to present to you tonight is precisely about that. Unfortunately, typhoons and calamities are so very much part of our life. And what we like to do is put a positive spin into what we're doing. There are many things that we're doing at SMART. Let me just talk about one small thing that we're doing. We're into disaster preparedness and response. And if you ask us why, and the simplest answer to that is because when you come down to it, it's an obligation on our part. Communications companies, communications are very important in responding to disasters. And we've been doing that for some time. And we've been thinking about how can we do this better so that we just don't simply respond to disasters. What can we do so that we get out of this cycle wherein we just keep responding to disaster after disaster. We keep responding to disasters. Disasters just come to us. What do we do better? How can we do things better rather than just simply responding to disaster? And the answer to that is that we've got to be better prepared. Now, how do we do that? We're going to tell you a small story about that later on, but let me start with a few simple facts. Something that we hope you'll appreciate if you can get the PowerPoint to work. But even without the slides, let me just give you a few simple facts. The Philippines is on the ring of fire. Remember your geology class? That's why we have volcanoes and we have earthquakes. We've been having earthquakes in Indonesia for quite some time. There we are. And we're right here on the ring of fire. But it's not only that. When you have this plus this. Now take a look at this slide. We pulled this out from the internet. It's a very instructive slide. This is a record of typhoons and hurricanes for the past 150 years. It tracks the path of these these disturbances and marks them out according to the intensity, the lowest being 1 and the highest being 5. Now take a good look. Where is the color red, which is category 5, most intense in the global map? It's right over there. Do you recognize that country over there? For the past 150 years, we've had the most category 5 typhoons in the world. Whether we like it or not, we are really world class in disasters. We have everything. We have typhoons, we have earthquakes, we have volcanoes, we have tsunamis. Okay? Who here has seen the film An Inconvenient Truth? Could you please raise your hands? Oh, not too many. You should have been, yeah, well, it's a good number, but there should be more. For all those who've seen that film, you should know that there are even tougher things to come. And for all the storms that we've seen, in that graph, we're going to have bigger ones and stronger ones. So that's where the why not question comes from. If we are world-class in disasters, why can't we be world-class in being prepared for that? It's a simple question, but it's a tough one. Why? Because we have 1,001 reasons to say why we can't. Kaya nagsabi nga sa akin, naku, hindi pwede sa Pilipino yan. How can you be prepared? Everybody crams for their exams. You stay late at night to finish your term papers. And your tax returns, you always prepare them on the last day. Filipinos don't know how to prepare. It's in our genes. Then the other argument is, so that's the cultural argument. And the other one is, well, it's a very familiar argument. We're a poor country. How can you prepare? That's not a joke. I have a friend who was telling me that, she interviewed me this afternoon, and she was saying that their organization has this program na you prepare something for 72 hours. Pagkain, gamot. Sabi ng mga sumasabi doon sa programang yun, nauubos yung pagkain kasi kinakain nila. Kasi wala na sila ibang pagkain. So financial problems, the poverty of the country is a real barrier. So you can say there's 1,000 reasons why you can't do it. I have only one reason why we should do it. Because we don't have much of a choice. It's going to come. There will be more disasters coming our way. And the only way to deal with it is to prepare for it. But let me just put it this way. There are many things that come into play in preparing for disaster. I just want to highlight two words for tonight. The first word is community. Community. And the second word is science. Why do I say community? Because in the end, all disasters are local. In the end, all disasters are local. The people at the local community are going to be the people who will have to deal with disaster. So if you want to prepare for disaster, you have to prepare your community. And number two is science. And why do I stress science? Because our society, our culture, we don't like science so much. How many people here like their science classes? You are a minority. But the key to surviving the future is to bring more science, and science that's real for the people. And the answer to poverty is you've got to use the best of what you have, no matter how little it is. That's why, and you must forgive the pun, we have to be smart about this. We have to use our brains, because for whatever else you can say, hindi mo pwedeng sabihin ang mga Pilipino ay tanga. Filipinos are very inventive, very, very imaginative. You know, we find solutions to the most impossible situations. Don't tell me that's not true. Wala tayong problema hindi maareglo. For 200 reasons or whatever. Okay? We've learned that we need to work with communities. There are a couple of programs now that are trying to prepare for communities. This is the first program that we got involved with. It's a government program, by the way. And it's a program to prepare community disaster preparedness programs. And our contribution here was not a cell phone. It wasn't a high-tech instrument. What we donated here are batingaws. This is an acetylene tank which we sliced in half and made into a bell. And this is a UNDP program, by the way, and that's how we got involved. And the idea is to set chains of batingaws in the areas where you need to warn people. So it's like a relay station. Parang pag tinalo ng isang batingaw, marinig ng kabila, ipapalo din yun. And it's a very simple idea. It's still in its infancy. It hasn't really been tried, but we've been working with the government on this aspect. We have deployed 80 batingaws in the towns of General Dakar, Real, and Infanta. We have also deployed 100 batingaws in Surigao Sur and Surigao Norte. And last week we deployed 100 batingaws in southern Leyte. And we're now thinking of deploying more in the provinces of Bicol. So that's how we got started in community involvement. This is a standard rain gauge. Nothing fancy. It's based on the World Meteorological Organization specifications. It measures rain. Okay? What we are now doing is we're starting to deploy rain gauges in public high schools in different parts of the country. Now, why are we doing that? It's called Project Raingauge. What we want to do is to create a model, test it, and see if it works. We want to train public high schools to measure rainfall. A very simple idea, and it's so simple, that's why we like it, because we think we can replicate it. And the idea is to deploy, this is our pilot set. We have trained 17 schools in different parts of the country. And they are now learning how to use rain gauges. And what they're doing they are reporting their rain gauge readings to a central database. This is a project, by the way, in cooperation with CLIMA, which is from the Manila Observatory of the Ateneo de Manila. And the idea is to build gradually a community-sourced database of scientific information. In this case, it's rainfall information. Why is rainfall information so important? And why is it important for the communities that we want to work with? It's because in many parts of the country, a lot of problems come from rain. A rough measurement is, and if you live in an elevated community in a side of a hill, if you have 100 millimeters of rain within 24 hours, you should watch out for landslides. In the case of General Lacar, Real, and Infanta Quezon, they had 300 milliliters of rain in one day. In the case of Legazpi in Albay, in that general area, during Typhoon Rening, they had 800 milliliters of rain in 2 days. That's why they had Lahar. So what we're trying to do here is to create a template that we will intend to replicate in public high schools in the most hazardous areas of the country, so that public high schools can be a source of knowledge, of scientific information that can be gathered in a central web portal and shared with different communities. But most important, that information would inform them. Now, where did the inspiration from this project come from? It came from what was cited several times already, the barangay of Saigon. If you recall, there was an elementary school in that town, in that barangay, which was covered by that landslide. And we asked ourselves the question, what if that school had a rain gauge? And what if they knew what the rain gauge readings meant? For anybody who's been involved in a situation like that, you will know that it is incredibly difficult for a local government official to make a decision to tell his people, leave your homes. It is a terrible decision. It is a frightening decision. No public official wants to do that. But if you can build a body of knowledge within your community that will warn people with a scientific basis, sir, may problema tayo. It may not work. There's no guarantee it will work. But I tell you, if you don't have this, then you will have disaster after disaster. So that's what we're trying to do, one of the things that we're trying to do at SMART. And this project started with that question. Why can't we world leaders in being prepared for that? I asked you that question, and I hope you know the answer to that. Thank you very much.